Hello there, very good evening. This is weekend edition of Primetime News on TV1. On behalf of the Newsfirst, the voice of the people, I'm Martin Satyanesan. Let's start off with a look at your headlines for this evening.
Admit COVID-19 patients with severe conditions to a hospital. Do not keep them at home. Health authorities urge the public.
කිසිම රෝහලකට මේ මොහොතේ අසාධ්‍ය රෝගියෙක් ගෙන ආවොත් ප්‍රතික්ෂේප කිරීමට කොහෙත්ම හැකියාවක් නැහැ.
Has India's black fungal infection been detected in Ampara?
ඉතින් අම්පාර ප්‍රදේශයට ඒක කොයි ආකාරයෙන්ද ගියේ කියන එක තාමත් ගැටලු සහගතයි.
Vaccination drive in chaos. Community physicians level criticism. Southwestern monsoon to establish in the country. Forecasts predict heavy rains and winds until the 26th. Landslide warnings issued to 14 districts. Did the Port City bill receive a 2/3 majority? 2 inquiries to be carried out into the voting process. 2 earthquakes strike China within 24 hours.
2,145 new COVID-19 infections were detected in the country today. Health Ministry figures indicate that there are 160,478 COVID-19 patients in the country. 1,635 infected individuals recovered from the infection today. Accordingly, Sri Lanka's total number of recoveries from COVID-19 currently stands at 126,995.
Why should COVID-19 infected individuals be hospitalized immediately?
44 deaths caused due to pneumonia, a complication of COVID-19, have been reported yesterday. 14 deaths had occurred at homes, while 4 individuals had succumbed to the infection while being moved to hospitals.
මේ මොහොතේ රෝහලට යෑමෙන්
Instead of keeping infected individuals at homes by assuming that they would be refused admission to hospitals, you must take steps to move such patients to hospitals without any delay. Hospitals cannot refuse the admission of infected individuals.
ප්‍රතික්ෂේප කිරීමට කොහෙත්ම හැකියාවක් නැහැ.
What steps must be taken if patients are refused admission to hospitals?
සෞඛ්‍ය සේවා අධ්‍යක්ෂ ජනරාල්තුමා පැහැදිලි
The Health Services Director General has clearly said that the necessary steps must be taken to ensure the safety and protection of such individuals. The hospitals have made the relevant arrangements in this regard. We wish to inform the public that any individual requiring emergency treatment, be it for COVID-19 or any other disease, has the right to receive treatment. The Health Ministry has taken all relevant measures to ensure that these rights are protected. If there is a delay in this process, you can inform us on our hotline. We will take steps to rectify it.
අපි ඒ පිළිබඳව නිවැරදි කිරීමට කටයුතු කරනවා.
40% of the infected individuals are dying at home. This situation is bad. There are 31,884 COVID-19 infected individuals. If there is a 2-fold increase in the numbers, it would match the capacity of beds in Sri Lanka's health sector. The virus is spreading rapidly. There are concerns on whether the government is paying enough attention to this.
ආණ්ඩුව මේ ගැන අවධානයකින් කටයුතු කරනවාද කියලා කාර්ය පිළිබඳව ලොකු ප්‍රශ්නයක් තියෙනවා.
What is the situation at hospitals?
The Ministry of Health has established 148 treatment centers and 23,329 beds for the treatment of COVID-19 patients. Official figures indicate that 20,626 beds have already been occupied by patients. 78 patients are receiving treatment at intensive care units.
Will a 2-week lockdown be imposed as proposed by experts?
සෞඛ්‍ය අමාත්‍යාංශයේ මේකට විරුද්ධ.
The Ministry of Health does not oppose this. We agree with it. But as the government, this decision will be taken considering the advantages, disadvantages and the consequences of it.
ප්‍රතිවිපාකත් කලකිල්ලට අරගෙන තමා රජයේ හැටියට මේ තීන්දුව ගන්නේ.
Is a vaccine the final solution?
The President was informed yesterday that the vaccination will begin by June and that the COVID-19 pandemic can be brought under control. This is not the reality. Sri Lanka won't be safe with the administration of the first dose. We must wait for 12 weeks until the second dose is administered to 90 to 95% of the population, considering the new variant. Present data show that the vaccine must be given to everyone above the age of 5.
The risk faced by children.
දරුවන් මේ වෙනකොට 1000කට
As of now, nearly 1,000 children have been infected with COVID-19. Unfortunately, approximately 5 child deaths were reported. Protecting children from this disease is important. Previously, the restrictions were lenient when it came to children, but now we urge them to use appropriate face masks. We request that children above the age of 2 wear face masks as opposed to the previous recommendations, which required children above the age of 5 to wear face masks.
Was the Indian fungal disease detected in Ampara?
It is unclear as to how it was detected in Ampara. However, we know that in recent times, certain groups had arrived in Sri Lanka. It could be a serious problem. So we hope that security and intelligence units perform their responsibilities.
How will the vaccination drive take place in the country?
15,000 recipients of the first dose of the Sputnik vaccine in the Colombo district will be able to receive their second jab in the next 2 weeks, when 65,000 doses are imported to the country. 50,000 doses will be used to vaccinate residents in the Kandy district. Sri Lanka will receive 500,000 doses of the Chinese Sinopharm vaccine and will use the stocks to administer the second dose among 595,000 individuals who received the first jab. Meanwhile, a portion of the Sinopharm vaccines will be allocated for the Gampaha and Kaluthara district. The remaining doses will be allocated for the Kurunegala, Ratnapura and Galle districts. Vaccines were administered in Vatumulla in Mount Lavinia at the office of the Medical Officer of Health in Mihindu Mawatha. Our correspondent reported that a tense situation had arisen after residents of Cinnamon Gardens had arrived to obtain the jab. However, the issue was resolved following the intervention of the Grama Niladhari officer.
Meanwhile, the College of Community Physicians of Sri Lanka has issued a statement on the COVID-19 vaccination campaign in the country. The statement observed that too many decision makers and a lack of coordination have led to many issues while combating the COVID-19 pandemic. It added that ad hoc decision making without a clear strategic plan in the vaccination campaign to fulfill individual requirements or respond to critics has created chaos. Accordingly, the College of Community Physicians of Sri Lanka have observed the following issues in the COVID-19 vaccination campaign so far. 1. Lack of a clear rollout plan. 2. Lack of prioritization of the available limited quantity of vaccines to minimize complications and deaths. 3. Inadequate planning leading to demand and supply mismatch. 4. Too many irrelevant stakeholders with a vaccine campaign. 5. Inadequate risk communication. And 6. Uncertainty at all levels. The statement pointed out that a deliberate attempt to tarnish the well-praised national public health vaccination programs has been carried out by certain groups. Accordingly, the medical body expressed great concern about the current process. The statement urged authorities to allow technical experts to handle the vaccination campaign without undue interference.
Various factions allege that an inquiry is being conducted against Deputy Director of Urban and Estate Health at the Ministry of Health, Dr. Chamal Sanjeeva, for the views he expressed regarding COVID-19 pandemic during an interview recently.
Several associations, including the Paramedical Services Front of Sri Lanka, point out that Dr. Chamal Sanjeeva was involved in creating awareness among the public on community health for a long time. Dr. Chamal Sanjeeva told Newsfirst that he had received a call from an official from the investigative unit on Thursday night. Although Dr. Sanjeeva was due to provide a statement at the investigative unit of the Health Ministry yesterday, he was informed to provide the statement after travel restrictions have been eased.
We would like to clearly state that this is intimidation. A member of an active trade union has been intimidated. This is against the Establishment Code. The Establishment Code very clearly states that a member of a professional institution can speak without fear regarding their respective field. It states that you can speak without fear regarding medical services. So this code has been violated and they have begun to crack down on the freedom of speech in the country. It is very clear that this crackdown began to fulfill the needs of a certain group on the inside.
මේ ඇතුලේ ඉන්න කල්ලියක්ගේ උමනාවකට කියන එක අපි පැහැදිලි කියනවා.
A special discussion was held under the patronage of Prime Minister Mahinda Rajapaksa on the progress of building the Kurunegala Provincial Hospital as a state-of-the-art national hospital.
Prime Minister Mahinda Rajapaksa has inquired from the relevant stakeholders on the process of acquiring and reclaiming land as part of constructing the new hospital. The Prime Minister's media division noted that the hospital provides treatment for 10% of the country's population, while residents of 5 districts including Kurunegala and Puttalam obtain treatment as well. The new hospital will be built with several state-of-the-art infrastructure facilities on the instructions of the Prime Minister.
The meteorological department forecasted heavy showers and strong winds in southwestern part of the country on the 24th, 25th and the 26th. Addressing a media briefing, the Director General of the Department of Meteorology stated landslides and floods could occur in these areas. He added the southwest monsoon will be active on the 25th and 26th, along with the low pressure area created in the Bay of Bengal.
A special press conference was organized by the Disaster Management Center to inform the public about the upcoming southwest monsoon amidst the COVID-19 situation in the country.
Areas where the weather will change on the 24th, 25th and 26th.
The Kegaul, Ratnapura, Nuwara Eliya, Western Province, western slopes of the Central Hills, Gaul and Mathura districts will be affected.
What are the areas prone to floods along with heavy showers?
The Kalani, Kalu, Bentara, Gin, Nilwala rivers and the Kirama, Attanagalu, Maha and Daduru Oyas are at risk of floods during the southwest monsoon season. Apart from these areas, floods could also occur in areas in the vicinity of the Valave River, Mioya and Uruboka Oya.
What are the areas prone to landslides?
Selected provincial secretariats in 14 districts are prone to landslides and collapsing of earth embankments. In the Badulla district, Haldamulla. In the Nuwara Eliya district, Ambegamua, Kotmale and Nuwara Eliya. In the Mathale district, Vilgamua, Lakgama, Pallegama and Riviston. In the Kandy district, Gangawata Korale, Yatinuwara, Udunuwara, Udapalata, Ganga Ihala Korale, Dolua, Deltota, Pasbage Korale and Akurana Panvila. In the Kegaul district, Aranayaka, Bulat Kohupitiya, Yatiantota, Daraniyagala and Dehiovita. In the Ratnapura district, Ratnapura, Kuruvita, Ahaliyagoda, Kiriyalla, Ayagama, Kalavana, Nivitigala, Alapatha, Palmadulla, Kahavatta, Opanayaka and Balangoda. In the Kaluthara district, Bulat Sinhala, Baduraliya, Palindanuwara, Agalavatta, Velivita and Ingiriya. In the Gaul district, Nelua, Tavalama, Nagoda, Niyagama, Alpitiya and Yakalamulla. In the Mathura district, Kotapola, Pasgoda, Pitabeddara and Akuressa. In the Hambantota district, Katuwana and Valasmulla. In the Kurunegala district, the mountainous areas bordering the Gampaha and Kegaul districts. In the Colombo district, Sitavaka, Padukka, Kasbava, Kadwela and Kolonava. In the Gampaha district, Attanagalla, Dompe, Mahara and Mirigama.
How will the public be evacuated to safe locations amid COVID-19?
Quarantine intermediate relief centers will be established to provide shelter to those who are undergoing quarantine at their homes at least a day before the floods occur. There are mechanisms to do so on provincial levels. People undergoing quarantine in their homes can contact 117 and steps will be taken to move them to these centers immediately.
The Department of Meteorology has cautioned the fishing and naval communities from going out to sea until further notice. The Constitution of a country is a document that gives the ultimate legal validity to the rights, freedoms and sovereignty of the general public. It is a document that gives clarity and meaning to the rights and freedoms of citizens and establishes a social contact between the citizens and the state. The passage of the autochthonous constitution of Sri Lanka in 1972 gave Sri Lankans complete sovereignty over affairs of the state. Today we commemorate 49 years since this freedom was won. This is our Republic Day.
Our small island in the Indian Ocean captured the attention of the prying eyes of European colonizers at the time for its strategic positioning in the world. In 1505, Lorenzo de Almeida and the Portuguese did not come to Sri Lanka all guns blazing, geared up for an invasion. They used sly tactics and deceived the king and his ministers. In the process, leaders like Don Juan Dharmapala betrayed our island nation. Even the Dutch used similar sly tactics to invade the country. Although past leaders of our nation fell prey to the deceitful tactics of foreigners, the general public of the country fearlessly fought against these foreigners. They did not allow them to invade the entire country. The kings and his ministers struck deals. It was the general public who paid the price and sacrificed their lives at the battles of Uvavellassa and Martale in their struggle against colonial rule. Again deals were struck, and the country was betrayed for perks and privileges, and these battles were lost. The rule of the British was then established. A group of locals who supported the rule of these foreign nationals came into being, but the hearts of the masses were steadfast and were not tainted with thoughts of subservience. The British introduced political reforms as a result of the countless struggles for freedom headed by the common man in Sri Lanka. The final attempt of the British to continue to have a foothold in the island was granting the country a dominion independence in the year 1948. For over 2 decades since then, the general public of the country were embroiled in many struggles to achieve true and meaningful independence. They were steadfast in their ambition to gain real independence. At the general election in 1970, the Samagi Peramuna, headed by the Sri Lanka Freedom Party, understood the need of the people to experience this true freedom and came into power on a promise of drafting a new constitution. The people who voted for the Samagi Peramuna were descendants of the masses that fought for freedom since the subjugation began in 1505. Members elected to the legislature of the country in 1970 drafted the first Republican Constitution of Sri Lanka, reaping the fruits of the countless sacrifices made by successive generations of Sri Lankans during the colonial rule. The story of Sri Lanka's Republic Day is written in the blood of Sri Lankan citizens who fought and died for freedom. Today we call to memory their struggle and pay tribute to those heroes. While the elite of our nation continued to betray our motherland for perks and privileges, the general public always stood firm for the sovereignty and territorial integrity of Sri Lanka.
The Sri Lanka Freedom Party celebrated the Republic Day today.
I feel that this is important than the other days. We came here to pay respect to our leader. Our country has become a colony of another country now. Sri Lanka received independence in 1948 after our forefathers shed their blood, sweat and tears for 450 years after the country was invaded by Western forces. However, all these matters have been undermined and Sri Lanka is now becoming a colony of another country. The Supreme Court identified the faults in this. They passed it in Parliament while the people were unable to raise their concerns, and especially when they were dying due to the pandemic. The Supreme Court, in its determination, found that this is unconstitutional. This is a dangerous situation. Therefore, we remember our leader more than any other day today.
I think මේක මහා භයානක තත්ත්වයක්. ඒ නිසා අපිට වෙනදටත් වැඩිය තව තවත් මැතිනිය මතක් වෙනවා. ඊළඟට දහස්පත්වෙත් සහයෝගය දුන්නා නේද මේ බෝස්ටි පන්ති සම්මත කරගන්න පාඩම. ඒ සම්බන්ධව කිසිම හරියන්නේ ශ්‍රී ලංකා නිදහස් පක්ෂය අද ඉන්න නායකත්වය.
The current leadership of the Sri Lanka Freedom Party has betrayed the original policies of the party. The party has been destroyed today. Today, they are clinging on to the Sri Lanka Podujana Peramuna. I think that the final betrayal was done on the 20th. The final betrayal of the Sri Lanka Freedom Party was to betray the country. I feel that they have no right to talk about the country anymore.
ඒගොල්ලන්ට ආයේ රට ගැනවත් පක්ෂය ගැනවත් කතා කරන්න අයිතියක් නැහැ කියලා මම හිතනවා.
අපේ අගමැතිතුමාටවත් මම හිතන්නේ මේ ගැන කතා කිරීමේ අයිතියක්
I feel that even our Prime Minister does not have the right to speak about this. That can be reflected when they are seated in Parliament. I worked with him closely for 40 years. I can identify his emotions by reading his face. That is the situation now. We must unite against this. Members of the Sri Lanka Freedom Party, including party chairman, former President Maithripala Sirisena, paid floral tributes to the Bandar Nayaka Memorial today. We won a historic victory on this day in establishing our democracy. We recall that we received complete freedom and sovereignty through the 1972 Constitution. The Port City Bill is not the same as the bill that was sent to the Supreme Court. There were many clauses that we did not agree with it that were included in the initial bill. The Supreme Court had completely removed those clauses and proposed amendments. We were in agreement with the amendments brought in by the Supreme Court, and the government too accepted the amendments and included them in the bill. So there is no issue.
Over the past few days, News First continued to report on how parliamentarians had voted on the Colombo Port City Economic Commission Bill. Tonight's report focuses on how lawmakers in the southern and Uva provinces voted on the bill. In the southern province, the Galle district, MPs who voted in favour of the bill: Ramesh Patirana, Isuru Dodangoda, Geeta Kumarasinghe, Chandima Veerakkodi, Mohan Priyadarshana de Silva, Sampath Atukorala, Shan Vijayalal. MPs who voted against the bill: Manusha Nanayakara and Gayantha Karunathilaka. In the Mathura district, MPs who voted in favour of the bill include Kanchana Vijayasekara, Karunadasa Kodituakku, Dallas Alahaperuma, Nipuna Ranavaka, Veerasumana Veerasinghe. MPs who voted against the bill: Buddhika Patirana. In the Hambantota district, MPs who voted in favour of the bill: Chamal Rajapaksha, Namal Rajapaksha, Ajit Rajapaksha, D.V. Chanaka, Upul Galapatti and Mahinda Amaravira. MPs who voted against the bill: Dilip Vedarachi. In the Munaragala district, MPs who voted in favour of the bill include Kumarasiri Ratnayaka, Gayasha Navananda, Jagat Pushpakumara, Vijita Berugoda, Shashendra Rajapaksha. MPs who voted against the bill: W.H.M. Dharmasena. In the Badula district, MPs who voted in favour of the bill include Aravind Kumar of the Samagi Janabala Vegya, Chamara Sampath Dasanayaka, Dilan Pereira, Janaka Tisakotiarachi, Tenuka Vidanagamage, Nimal Siripala de Silva and Sudarshana Denipitia. MPs who voted against the bill include Chaminda Vijay Siri and Vadivel Suresh.
Speaker Mahinda Yapa Abeyewardene has said 2 special inquiries will be carried out into allegations that votes were not counted accurately during the vote on the Colombo Port City Special Economic Commission Bill.
Speaker Mahinda Yapa Abeyewardene told News First that the Sri Lanka Podujana Peramuna had sought an inquiry into the recent vote on the Colombo Port City Economic Commission Bill. Accordingly, one inquiry will look into whether the vote was not carried out properly due to technical errors. The second inquiry will focus on determining whether an administrative error occurred when the votes were counted. A committee headed by a retired Parliamentary Secretary General will conduct the inquiry.
If the vote is wrong, go for another vote after looking into the legal status of the bill. There is another problem. This company has called for applications from investors even before the Speaker has placed his signature and even before the Commission mentioned in the bill is established. This is illegal.
අපි අධිකරණ විරුද්ධව ගියේ නැහැ.
We did not go against court even with the two-third majority. We acted according to the court recommendations even with the two-third majority. That is called democracy. A people-friendly government listens to the people and the courts. If we wanted to, we could have passed in forcefully with a two-third majority. We did not do that because the Supreme Court gave certain recommendations. The President and the Prime Minister said to implement those recommendations since they do not affect the bill.
අපි අධිකරණයට ගරු කරලා ජනාධිපතිතුමා අගමැතිතුමා කොයි නිර්දේශ ක්‍රියාත්මක කරන්න කියලා. මොකද ඒකෙන් මේ පනතට හානියක් නැහැ.
We did not say that we are against the Port City Bill. We are for it. We are against the interference that the Port City Bill has on our country's unitary status. Through a government established under the leadership of Sajith Premadasa, we will bring the relevant acts and bills that ensures our country's unitary status and proper auditing while developing the port city.
අපේ රටේ ඒකීයභාවය ස්වෛරීභාවය සහ විගණනය කියන කාරණාවලට යටත් කිරීම සඳහා වූ අනපනත් ගේන්න අපි සූදානම්.
ඒගොල්ලන්ට තිබුණ 153 බලය ඊ අහෝසි වුණා.
They lost the two-third majority they had yesterday. When the result of the vote was announced for the first time, they had only 148 votes. When it was read out for the second time, the number had reduced to 146. This means it will reduce in the coming future. Today they have power only in the parliament. Remember that. They don't have a two-thirds majority in the country. I don't know if they even have the mandate of 900,000 voters out of the 6.9 million who voted for them.
අර 69 ලක්ෂය දුන්න ජනතාවගෙන් අද මන් දන්නා 9 ලක්ෂයක්වත් ඒගොල්ලන්ට ඉතුරු වෙලා තියෙයිද කියලා.
මේ ආණ්ඩුව ආපු දවසේ ඉඳලා පවරා ගැනීම කෙසේ වෙතත්
Since the day this government came into power, they have been successfully selling off the resources of this country without any hesitation. This treacherous bill was passed by bribing and silencing those who voted in favor of it. The Mahasangha enforcers who called themselves patriots, who were vocal when the Hambantota port was given to China for a 99-year lease, did not utter a single word when the bill to give away the port city to China was passed in parliament with a two-thirds majority. They were silent because their empty patriotism was shattered before the yuans and dollars came from China.
අපි කියනවා මේ විරෝධතාවයක් නොදැක්වීමට හේතුව දේශප්‍රේමීත්වයේ අභිබවා ගිහිල්ලා චීනයෙන් ආපු යුවාන් ටිකට ඩොලර් ටිකට ඔවුන්ගේ පුහු දේශප්‍රේමීත්වය නිහඬ කරන්නට පුළුවන්කමක් ලැබුණා.
Samoa's Prime Minister-elect has pledged to cancel a $100 million Chinese-backed port development, calling it excessive for the small Pacific island that is already heavily indebted to China. Opposition leader set to become Samoa's first female Prime Minister, Fiame Naomi, after a week-long political impasse, said she intended to maintain good relations with China, but she had more pressing needs to address than the port project. The proposed construction of the wharf in Waisu Bay has been a divisive issue in Samoa, playing a part in April elections where long-serving leader Tulepa Sailele lost his parliamentary majority. The Prime Minister-elect said, quote-unquote, "It's very difficult to imagine that we could need the scale that's being proposed under this particular project, where there are more pressing projects that the government needs to give priority to," unquote. Meanwhile, the United States and other Western countries have criticized China for extending loans to poorer countries for infrastructure projects that risk saddling them with unsustainable debt. However, China rejects the criticism. China is the single largest creditor in Samoa, a country of 200,000 people, accounting for about 40% of some $160 million of its external debt. While heavy attention was drawn to the vote on the Port City Bill, the people have not forgotten the fraud and corruption that has rocked this country. This is a reminder of the massive sugar scam that was perpetrated recently. A Finance Ministry report submitted to the Committee on Public Accounts reveals that Sri Lanka lost more than 15 billion rupees in the sugar scam. One importer procured 125,000 metric tons of sugar after the special commodity levy was slashed from 50 rupees to 25 cents. While other importers paid a 50 rupee levy, the importer in question only paid a mere 25 cents as the levy. The importer in question also earned a profit by selling 2,000 metric tons of sugar to Sathosa. Complaints were filed with the Criminal Investigations Department and the Bribery Commission on these transactions. Reports of these investigations have not been released yet. Can the sugar scam, which deprived Sri Lankans of billions of rupees, be swept under the carpet?
The Kotmale Additional Regional Officer of the Land Title Settlement Department, who was arrested by the Criminal Investigation Department over a Facebook post on environmental destruction, has been released on bail. This was after the officer was produced before the Colombo Chief Magistrates Court today.
This individual had posted false information and images on his Facebook page. He had posted photos of privately owned lands being cleared and claimed that the government is engaging in deforestation using state officers. He had used false images and claimed that the Singharaja forest, the Vilpattu forest and important forest lands in the Singharaja forest were being cleared. This individual had been arrested in Gelioya after the Criminal Investigations Department carried out a lengthy investigation into this matter. The Criminal Investigations Department will continue to carry out investigations into this matter. The Kotmale Additional Regional Officer of the Land Title Settlement Department was released on 2 surety bails after being produced before the Colombo Magistrates Court. I can't comprehend the basis on which the police have charged him for rallying the people against the government. He is a state official and he has certain responsibilities. He had informed the public as part of fulfilling his responsibilities. An officer of the Criminal Investigations Department said that the accused had tried to attack him and 5 other officers with a knife when they went to record a statement from him. They requested court for him to be imprisoned as it would hamper their investigations. The magistrate, upon considering submission, issued an order stating that there is no reason to remand him. We feel that the government is trying to suppress the freedom of speech. They are trying to silence state officials.
In more local news, a webinar on the theme India and Asian Geopolitics was organized by the Pathfinder Foundation. Speaking during the event, former Indian High Commissioner Shiva Shankar Menon expressed these views.
Over the last 15 years, I think China's relations with most of the larger countries on her periphery, have actually got more complicated. With India, relations have been in crisis since last year, since what happened on the border. With Japan, the East China Sea, Senkaku Diaoyu is a big issue. And she has worked herself into, because she didn't choose that path, and maybe because of choices that the other countries made also, because there's an action and reaction here. We've worked ourselves into classic security dilemmas, where each side thinks what they're doing is defensive, but the other side sees it as offensive and then reacts to it. So again, then this side says, oh my God, the balance has changed, I have to do something. So you get into an escalatory spiral, where each one is reacting, each one thinks they're being defensive, but the other side sees it as offensive, and you get into and that is the situation we're in today. If you look across Asia, all the hotspots are live. All the flashpoints are hot, whether it is East China Sea, Taiwan, South China Sea, India-China boundary, you look at Yemen, you look across, and today even Palestine. So you have this set of flashpoints which have become much hotter than they were, say, 10, 15 years ago. And a lot of it is a reaction to the very rapid rise of China and the accumulation of hard power by China.
From that, we bring to a close this edition of Primetime News on TV1. For details of the stories and much more, simply log on to our website, www.newsfirst.lk. For the Newsfirst, the voice of the people, I'm Martin Satyanesan, along with the sign language interpreter, Taraka Gabriel. Take care and good night.